You all set? Okay. All good?
Okay, welcome everyone to Red Creek School Board meeting. I'd like to have you stand and do the pledge of allegiance. Before we get started, folks, ladies that just came in, did you want to sign in to be able to speak in public forum? Okay, thank you. Okay. So, on our public forum, we have one speaker that would like to present, Mrs. DeVinny. Check the button. No.
The lights up. Oh, there we go. Good evening. For those of you who I don't know well, my name is Jen DeVinny. I am a district resident, a graduate of Red Creek, a parent of 4 children, 3 of which are currently enrolled in the district, and one will be when he is old enough to. And I am an assistant superintendent for instruction in another Wayne County school district. I'm here tonight to talk about 2 pieces, one being culture and your role in establishing that, and the other being some requests with regard to our district budget tonight. So I just want to challenge you all to think about your role in the oath of office that you took, whether it was as an elected official or as a hired employee of the school district. You all are the first line and the first models of that culture for our district. So the way that you interact with each other, be that in a positive or a dismissive way, sets a tone across our district for how we would expect our staff to interact with one another and how we would expect our students and our parents to interact as well. So I just ask as you go about your business tonight, you consider that in your interactions with each other. So often our community is watching you all, whether it's from this audience or online, and the feedback from the community is that you're not functioning as a team that is serving our community well. Specifically with regard to the budget tonight, I think our community has been very clear over this year that there are requests for additional staff members in this district, be that a transportation director or additional instructional staff. So as an assistant superintendent for instruction, I can speak to the value of primary grades and the education provided at those grade levels. Again, as you're looking at COVID-related funding, the stimulus money, and our budget for next year, I would encourage you to consider adding additional kindergarten, first, second grade teachers. Those students have lost time with regard to developing their foundational skills. So all 3 of my children who are students in the district are very fortunate to be gifted intellectually. My youngest was in kindergarten at the time of the initial shutdown. She left UPK further ahead than either of my other students were. Huge credit to Miss Uberu. She was kid number 3. She got the dirty pacifier and the leftovers of everything. She came to pre-K with no foundational skills, and our pre-K program resulted in her entering kindergarten knowing all of her numbers, all of her letters, and having a really solid foundation. She was ahead of where my other 2 children were when they entered kindergarten. I look at her now as a second grader, and her gaps are significant. She is much further behind where her older siblings were, and that is not due to instruction or lack thereof or poor quality of instruction. It's due to the fact that her education has been interrupted by COVID. So I would encourage you, as we're looking at COVID-related spending and how to provide our students with a high-quality education, consider adding staff to rebuild those foundational skills. We've heard that very loud and clear from our secondary parents this year, that there's a need for additional academic support. So again, I encourage you to consider adding additional support staff here as well. And one final piece to that, I very well understand the challenges of closing gaps and struggling learners. I would ask you to also consider that there are students in this district who are in need of acceleration and enrichment. And what I have seen through this process is that those students right now are largely underserved in this district. So my son is in 6th grade. At the end of 5th grade, when he completed his maths testing, or maths, what's the state test? Sorry, whatever the state testing is, that they completed, he scored as being ready for Algebra 1. This year, as a 6th grader, he has his academic classes the first 3 periods of the day, and beyond that, his day, he has PE and band and his specials. The last 2 periods of the day are personalized learning. As an 11-year-old, he loves the fact that he was able to build a paper-mache pumpkin and do some fun STEM challenges, but I'm looking at an hour and a half of his academic day that could be much more rigorous were there a teacher here to provide that enrichment. So I would not advocate for denying students additional intervention and support, but I would again ask you as you're building the budget to consider adding those additional staff to make sure that we're servicing all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. All right, on my list, I don't have any other speakers, so we'll move forward with our business. All right. Do I have a motion for the approval of the regular minutes from January 19th, 22? Ms. Cook. I have a second. Mr. Curtis. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Thank you. All right, now we're on the financial reports. We have a treasurer's report for November and December, warrants November, December, and the second quarter extracurricular central treasurer's report. Excuse me. Do I have a motion for any or all? Yes, motion. Mr. Nodine. Second. Mr. Curtis. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, in the line items for the transportation. Hey, Sue.
Sue, can you
Oh,
pull it
sorry.
around? Please, just pull it around.
I thought it was long enough. Okay, is that better? Is it better? It's
No.
not better.
You're gonna have to bring it up.
Bring it up closer. Bring the whole stand over closer.
Right.
Mr. Dow,
See if it fixes it up.
or take the mic out.
Yeah. How about if I just like lean in?
Yeah, see, that's it.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. That's better? Okay. Okay, I'll try to like stay focused right on the microphone. Wrong page. Okay, so in the general fund, I noticed in the that there's transportation salaries, and I'm just wondering why do some of them go under 5510 and one goes under 5530?
What page?
I am on page 16 of 18 of the transportation. That's the first one, and then there's more on page 18. I'm just wondering what the difference between those two transportation codes are.
5510 is the drivers, and then 5530 would be maintenance of the building.
Okay.
5530, what you might be looking at is the snow plowing that we would associate with maintenance of the building.
Okay. And one other question. In which fund will we see the COVID funds?
That would be the F fund. Well, and we do have some of them in the general fund, so it would be the general fund and in the federal fund.
Federal fund and the general fund?
Yes.
And what is the account that that's going under? Is there a specific account for the COVID funds, or?
That I would have to get back to you because there's going to be several account codes. I'll have to get back to you.
Maybe we could look at, rather than trying to dig through the different funds, perhaps we could get some kind of maybe that's what we're going to talk about tonight, listing out what expenses we've had thus far that are going to
So I have a motion and a second already. Okay. Any other further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Okay. Under our unfinished business and reports, we took the opportunity to add one there because of the Science Olympiad success. So I'm going to ask Mr. Bonato to come up to the mic, please, and if Mrs. Griffin wants to join him actually as well, if you'd like, to be able to give us a update on the success of the Science Olympiad, please.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Members of the board, administrative team, and to all either in attendance this evening or viewing online. On behalf of the Science Olympiad program, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak before you this evening. On Saturday, January 29th, 10 Red Creek High School students competed in 23 events held at the regional competition at Fayetteville Manlius High School. When the day was done, our students were exhausted, but hopeful for great results. On Sunday night, the virtual awards presentation rolled out its top 10 in each of the 23 events. Red Creek's name appeared many times throughout the presentation, taking home 13 top 10 finishes. At the end of the presentation, 5 schools were selected based on team rank to move on to the New York State Finals competition. I'm very happy to report that Red Creek was named the 4th best team that day out of 31 teams to qualify for this amazing opportunity. On a typical high school Science Olympiad team, you are limited to 7 seniors. We had 3 seniors compete that day, along with 1 junior and 6 sophomores. On some occasions, Red Creek only had 1 person compete in the event. Usually in a Science Olympiad event, it's either 2 or 3 team nights. On that occasion where 1 person participated, we had a first place finish in cell biology. Congratulations, Patrick. Usually all Science Olympiad teams have rosters set at 15. Due to measures beyond our control and certain circumstances, we left Red Creek High School that morning with just 10. They were willing to do whatever it took to carry the team. Once again, as years passed, Red Creek battled the largest school districts in all of Central New York. Once again, Red Creek emerged as a giant on a day that we appeared to be a small team. As the news spread that evening of qualification, the community at large expressed their joy. It was especially heartwarming as the great joy came from students of the past that know that the time, the dedication, and the nerves that are stretched to their limit in preparation. Yesterday, we celebrated the team effort with a private in-person medal ceremony in our wonderful science pod. We presented students with their individual event medals and hoisted a new trophy into our display case. Many thanks to those on the administrative team and Board of Education who took the time out of their schedules to be part of such a great event. I would like to take the time to thank those 10 students who rallied together, believed in themselves, and had fun in the process. I would like to thank the coaches who dedicated their time and effort and expertise into providing students with such a great and rewarding experience. I would like to extend my appreciation to high school staff members who gave their time and space to help students with specific tasks or questions. To the parents, thank you for continuing your support of your son or daughter and to our Science Olympiad program. Their joy is something that will not be forgotten. We are grateful for you. To the administrative team and to the Board of Education, thank you for your continued support that has put Red Creek on the map over the years. We look forward to a full team effort in preparation for the state tournament held on March 18th and 19th at LaVoy College in Syracuse. The coaching team will be working closely with the high school admin team to finalize logistics and itinerary to provide for parents and the educational community. This team has renewed the continued greatness that is Red Creek Science Olympiad. It has been a very fulfilling experience for these students, but it's not over yet. To say that I am proud is a huge understatement to the potential that this team has. Our current time is celebratory, and our future is rich and aspiring. I did share this morning with Mr. Corey, Dr. Corey, I shared some metrics they'll share with you a graph. It just shows that, you know, it's the beds information that comes out, and it just goes to show that we compete. There's no large school, small school division. There's no Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D. It's just everyone for themselves. And you see how small Red Creek is in comparison to these large districts and how well we did. I think it just puts a bigger stamp on things. So at this time, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Mrs. Griffith, do you have anything to share with?
I think she shouldered it on me tonight.
Did she shoulder it on me? Oh.
And I took the challenge.
It was a pleasure to see the kids yesterday, and to I think that ceremony, because you couldn't have that big of a ceremony, it was very meaningful to be able to have that for the students, and good for you. And on behalf of the board, I'll say congratulations for your success. We look forward to the fun that you're going to have between now and March 18th of putting together the attack toward the states. Good for you.
And we're very excited to offer these, high school extracurricular academic activities for the kids and these opportunities, because they go on resumes, they go on college applications. Colleges know what this means to them. So we have this, and we have a Envirothon that we look forward to every year. So.
Well, it doesn't happen by accident. With your leadership and your whole staff, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say something to my two former colleagues. I know that you have for like almost decades probably, right?
Over 25 years.
Committing yourself to Science Olympiad, and it's so rewarding to see this continue. And when I look at this and I see districts like Fayetteville, Manlius, and Jamesville, DeWitt, and right under that comes Red Creek. That is so impressive, because those schools have a lot of stuff, and what we have here is a really dedicated staff and some really committed students. So thank you for your extra efforts, and especially during this very trying time, to really hang in there with the kids and give them something so special. Thank you.
Thank you.
You could stand over that for me.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next, I'd like to have a little update from our communications specialist, Chris, and I'm going to destroy your last name. Casabecca, thank you.
And a lot of syllables.
Yeah.
First let me introduce myself. I'd like to thank you for having me tonight. My name is Chris Casabecca. I'm the communications specialist from Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES. I started here, actually my first full day was February 3rd, so 2 weeks today. And although I'm going to be the liaison for Red Creek has all the services available from Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES from our communications team. That includes graphic design as well as video editing, all the sorts. So kind of give you a look into what we've done so far and what our plan is moving forward. So far, you may have noticed we created a district Facebook and Twitter page. My goal with that was to kind of create a one-stop shop for all our content to go out to the community. And of course, it will be connected to our website as well, because ultimately we want our community to turn to our website for all vital information, not just Facebook. So far, that Facebook page has reached nearly 5,000 people. Our posts have reached out to 5,000 people. That means people who have actually seen our posts. 1,500 people have engaged in those posts, meaning they shared, liked, commented. And so far, we have 224 page follows, and again, that's all within just 2 weeks. And I expect that to grow exponentially as we put more content down there. Actually, I had the privilege to go to the Science Olympiad event yesterday, and so look forward to seeing that article be posted up there shortly on Facebook as well as our website. So far, another one of my goals has been just to walk around to develop relationships with teachers, faculty, staff within the building, and I've already done that with few. My plan moving forward is to do it with the whole district, make sure they all know I'm here. My goal is to get into the classroom and tell the stories of our students. So that kind of transitions us into what can you expect moving forward. Currently, I've been working with Dr. Corey as well as Mr. Eric Robbins at IT to revamp and kind of almost a complete teardown and revamp of our website. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to shift the focus to students and tell their story. Right now, I feel like the Red Creek website kind of lacks that, and I really want to bring that out. Again, we have so many great students from just 2 weeks I've seen the great achievements our students do here, and I feel like that needs to be out there more. And I feel like doing that to our website will help tell that story. My goal is also to have easier access and information for students, parents, as well as faculty and staff. And moving forward with our website, we'd like to have social media and Parent Square integration. You know, Parent Square is a vital tool for parents to get messages from, whether it's faculty, staff, Dr. Corey, administrators. So we want to have that integration built in right on our website, because again, we want our website to be a one-stop shop for parents to go to. They don't need to sift through Facebook to find content. They can just go to our website and it'll all be there for them. And again, it's just creating more engagement on both social media and our website, and start to establish a trust between the district and the community. And again, we do that by telling the stories of the students, of the achievements that happen within these halls. And just continuing to tell the story that makes the Red Creek Central School District great. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Any questions, anyone? We're looking forward to all that you're bringing and what you've already started. So thank you very much for being here. Welcome to Red Creek, and we're looking for all that fun stuff everybody is. Thank you. Okay, we have Mrs. Hay for an ESRA update.
Thank you. I'm going to give a recap of the December presentation with some updated numbers, with the understanding that grant funds are fluid, has our priorities shift, as the district works through our strategic plan, has new things come along, whether they're a need or a new service that we find out about that would benefit our students, we can shift how we're spending these grants, as long as it meets the parameters of the grant, that is. So the first grant that we got with some COVID money was called the CARES Act. It was for last school year, and we spent this grant on virtual learning teachers for the elementary, some extra monitors, cleaners, aides that were needed to mostly sanitize, and service students that were virtual, USB flash drives for students, sanitizing supplies, hotspots, cameras, tripods, and microphones for the virtual instruction that was happening all the way through, Zoom subscriptions, replacement Chromebooks, and professional development focused on technology for our staff. And then there's the ESSER2 grant that is targeted to be spent by the end of this year. We paid for 1 year of summer programming, K through 12. Some of those services were through BOCES. Some of those services we offered right here at Red Creek. Again, sanitizing supplies, personal protective equipment. Additional desks and furniture for social distancing. If you'll notice, our elementary cafeteria is set up with all desks. Water filtering systems, being that we cannot use drinking fountains. We have added some bottle filling stations. Communication systems with bus radios, upgraded some phones, improved air filtration on both buses and within our school building, trucks to transport food and for food storage, a handicap bus, and some bleachers for outdoor events, especially graduation. And then we have some state-funded grants. The first one is a learning loss grant. Under this, we're looking to, and we haven't spent this, well, we spent some of this money. We're We're looking at instructional coaches in literacy, math, and technology. We have their services now through BOCES. Professional development, curriculum materials. We've already purchased a bunch of literacy materials. We're looking at purchasing additional literacy and math materials. Furniture for the middle school and the high school. We're looking at starting a learning lab in the high school, and we'll fund another year of summer programming through this. For summer enrichment, we'll have another year, so now we're up to 3 years of summer programming. After school, we have paper tutoring that I'll give you a little update on at the end of this presentation. That's new since the last presentation. We were working on that, kind of just starting to work on that in December. And some after-school Regents prep that will happen for the next 3 years. And then we have our Sr3 Funds. We're funding our communication specialists through this. Again, more sanitizing equipment and personal protective equipment. Additional furniture for the learning lab, and this won't always be your traditional desk type furniture. Classroom instructional materials, K through 12. Minor renovations for a learning lab, and additional items as we go forward and continue to meet with stakeholders and continue to work through our strategic planning. We'll see what comes out of those, but many things will come out of that. There's still quite a few funds put aside for that stuff. And again, I want to remind that we did do a stakeholder survey in August. And the priorities that came out of that were social emotional learning, additional instructional staff, additional instructional time, facilities improvements to heating and cooling, instructional facility improvements, technology, student safety, and additional activities to support student needs. I want to remind you that we do have a lot of funding for our social emotional learning. We have almost $100,000 per school year. These are outside of our ESSER grants. And with that money, we have added additional counselors at each building, a social worker, psychologist. We have Wayne Cap in-house, Delphi, Catholic Charities. This year we started a youth teen mental health program. We have social work interns. We have PBIS coaches for Tier 1. Those are positive behavior intervention specialists. And we have a restorative practices coach. This year we added Tier 2 PBIS coaches at each building, a teen youth mental health coordinator, an optimal health, steady work coordinator, a half-time psychologist. And instructional strategies that we practice here to support social emotional learning. We have daily advisory period with a daily check-in, UPK through 12. In our elementary, we have a scientifically based curriculum, research-based called Second Step. In our middle school, we have life skills. New this year in our high school, we have youth teen mental health curriculum. And our optimal health coordinator supports love notes and healthy relationships curriculum. To address academic learning loss, again, this is part of the survey, what our priorities are. We said after school tutoring. We do have our high school academic recovery, which began in November. We have our elementary after-school program, which is supported by our 21st Century grants. And we're starting paper tutoring right after February break. Focused interventions is an area of priority. We are continuing for our academic intervention services, and we have a focused UPK through 3 reading program that we began this year. Under evidence-based instruction was a priority. We're working on prioritizing standards. That work is ongoing. We've introduced really great reading and Haggerty at the elementary levels, again, some of those literacy practices. We're currently using the math modules. And we have brought coaches in this year through BOCES. The literacy coach right now is focused grades K through 12, K through 2. And our math coach is focused grades 4 through 5. Our technology integration coach is focused grades 6 through 12. And in our grant, we have funds set aside to expand on this idea of coaching. And professional development. And that's ongoing through BOCES, through our district, through our teacher center, and through local conferences. Here's a summary of the amounts of each grant, and I've already gone over what how those grants are being spent. And again, I do want to point out that there is money set aside in that last 1.9 million grant. There's a bunch of flexibility in there so that we can continue to get input from our stakeholders. Some things that we already purchased. Sue, you were asking about this. Improved building filtration, improved bus filtration, personal protective equipment, our K through 6 in-house summer program, our 7 through 12 BOCES summer program. These are things that already have been paid for. Professional development, which will be ongoing. The first year of coaches through BOCES, some reading materials, and elementary furniture. Future purchases, again, ongoing professional development, furniture for the middle school and high school, transportation improvements to include a bus and a truck, additional curriculum materials, additional coaching. We'll continue to fund our summer programming, continue to fund after-school programming, personal protective equipment, any additional items that we decide as we work through the strategic plan and as we continue to meet with stakeholders. And we're working on improvements to our communication system, including phones and bus radios. Paper tutoring is a new service. We just kind of heard about this in December. It's 24/7 online tutoring for students, real-time support from expert tutors in any subject. There's a virtual whiteboard, file sharing options, annotated feedback on an essay. A student can turn in an essay within 24 hours, get feedback on it, and they can use it on multiple devices. So I have a little video. Just a quick overview here. Oh boy. Or maybe I don't have a little video. Anyway, students can access paper tutoring digitally. The tutors are college students, college graduates, grad students, previous teachers. They have access 24/7. They can interact on a whiteboard. They can interact in a chat. We've kicked it off with our staff this week. We're going to send out an introduction to parents on Friday. Students will get an introductory email on Monday, and then an advisory on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll have a video with sound. I apologize for that. That's a little embarrassing. And the next day we'll have an opportunity to get on there and practice and get in it. If students want to get in there ahead of time, actually I'm sending out the student email on Friday with directions on how they can get in there in case they wanted some help over break with homework and had the opportunity to get in there and practice. Any questions?
Should I go ahead? Go ahead. Okay. I'm gonna do the best I can here. We don't have a paper copy, so I don't know which page it was on. Do you mind going back for a second? It was the one that had all of the dollar amounts listed.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. This one?
Yes. So my first question is, how is that dollar amount determined?
Those are allocations from the government.
Right, what I'm asking is the 1.9.
Those are all allocated to us.
Right, so how is that number determined though? By our size, by our number of students, by how much we apply for?
I think it's based on a few factors. One is size, one is poverty level. It kind of is funded similar to our ESSA grants, our Title I, Title II, Title IV, and a lot of that has to do with student population. You might want to expand on this too. The poverty level.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different factors, but you also are seeing multiple grants up there.
Okay.
So you have different criteria for each of those grants. And I can tell you that the first one that came out, and I don't know if you can read it, but I think it says the CARES Act at the top, the 300,000. So that came out, and I honestly don't know how that allocation came out.
Okay.
It was a number that was generated to us. They said this is how much you're getting for that. But there is a calculation on the back end that the schools are,
So you're just given a cap?
For some of them, yeah. And then there's obviously factors that play a role into some of those larger numbers in there. But I think my point to that is the CARES Act was a direct link to some of the PPE needs and some of the safety protocols that were needed up in 2019. So that's a very old grant that you're seeing up there, right? So
That you're talking about the top one?
The top one that
Okay.
came out. So, and my point is that the reason that we have some of those other things up fronted, so if you look at the cameras and the microphones, the tripods, those were things that we needed to just function as a school district at that point in time. The things that you're seeing down here, so that was more kind of reactive, I would say. Down here where you see the $1.9 million, that's where we can become a little more proactive and start, it's a reactive system or process, but you're able to kind of react to some of the issues that you're seeing, like Jen mentioned earlier with the gap elimination piece, and coming up with some of those programs that you can put in place to kind of bridge the gaps that have happened over the loss of instruction over the period of time. So the dollar amount are all the factors that I believe Cindy just mentioned, and probably then some. I don't have a list of those. But every school system has their allocations out there. And Bill, I don't know if you've heard anything different than that, or Jen for that matter?
Several of them are, they're tied to ROI and Title I. Several, not all. I don't know the specific formulas that they use though, like you said.
And I don't know, Jen, do you have anything you want to add since you're here? No? Okay.
I have another part to this question then too. So maybe a page before or two, the second item was, I believe, instructional staff that came out of that survey. And we have not addressed that at all yet.
We are starting to address that. So we just are going to add the learning lab at the high school. And we will continue to look. You know, I'm going to be honest, had a really hard time getting just our staff openings filled this year.
Okay.
So we're going to continue to work through that. You know, we always know that people are going to retire,
Well, I was
and
just
we're
looking
always
at
going to be.
the survey page, so I just was trying to understand if we'd added people or added help, and I just didn't see it in your blocked out documents.
Yeah, so if you look at, you have the 0.5 school psychologists, that was added in there. Sr3 Funds right there, psychologists have time. The optimal health steady work coordinator, the teen youth, those are all from those Sr3 Funds is increasing staff.
Right, but I don't think that's what the survey said. I thought the survey said instructional staff. I just assumed
Yes,
they
there
were-
is a prior personal staff,
Right,
you are
which was the
correct,
first one.
Kate. Did I?
Yeah, you just went by.
Did I? Sorry.
Thank you.
And there's actually conversations in both the middle school and the high school at this point in time for that learning lab piece as well. So it's not just limited to the high school.
So we're on the topic of the learning lab. That went away at some point, now you're bringing it back?
We currently do not have a learning lab. We currently have academic intervention services, and we have labs attached to some math classes, labs attached, of course, to some science classes
So is that learning lab?
for
going to
extra
be,
assistance.
There's gonna be a teacher in the learning lab?
There will be, the plan currently is to have a teacher in the learning lab. The learning lab will be open all day, will be accessible to all students, you know, for extra help during study hall, lunch times, that kind of stuff.
And then I noticed you had a line item in there for professional development. What kind of social and emotional support are you giving to the staff through professional development?
Last year we did lots and lots of professional development around restorative practices. We had faculty circles. We have all of the BOCES offerings, which have many offerings around social emotional self-care. I have to get the list out to look, but there's lots, and all of that is open to our staff.
So might it be maybe a worthy journey to survey the staff and find out what kinds of emotional support they might need? I mean,
Of course it is, yeah.
We are now getting into yet another phase of this pandemic, with the possibility of masks being removed, and that can go either way. You know, you're going to have some people go yay, and then you're going to have other staff go, oh, no way. So, you know, proactively, you know, I think it would be great to not just, you know, give professional development around instruction, but also to support those social and emotional needs of the staff members.
Yep, agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Anyone? Any? Oh, good. Thank you for the update and then the addition to what we had previously seen and what's going on now. So thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to new business. Under certified staff, I've got A, B, and C, appointment, or 21st century program, appointment for athletic spring coaches, and appointment for business teachers, or for a business teacher. Do I hear a motion for any or all? Okay, Mr. Curtis, all of it? Okay, Mrs. Madigan, a second. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? All right. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Okay. All right. Next item, under new business 2, got A through, turn the page, A through J. Okay. Since it's that long a list, do I have any recommendations? Yes, Kate.
I'd like to pull E to A through C, executive, please.
A through
C, as in Charlie.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Yes.
I have a question. If we're going to pull A through C, any of those questions have been asked outside of the board meeting tonight
No.
and not going into executive? Is that what we're doing? Or are we pulling them?
I'm sorry.
Are you going to pull these separately for separate vote?
I'd like to discuss them before we vote.
So you're saying table them at this point for executive session?
Right.
Okay. All right. Did that answer your question?
No, because they could have been asked before that, but that's okay.
Okay. All right, so we've got A through C table.
No,
Okay.
I'm definitely not voting for that.
Not in favor of that?
No.
Larry, it's kind of difficult to ask personnel questions over email when we're not allowed to discuss things over email as a
You
group.
could call the subject, or call the person, superintendent to answer those questions.
Right,
So
but then how would you
that's
know?
micromanaging it.
I
as far as
disagree.
I'm concerned.
Okay, well, we'll have that discussion then.
Okay.
Okay? We'll have that discussion. All right, so I'm hearing A, B, and C.
Do you have a second on that?
Do I have a second on that tabling? Okay, Sue, Mr. Cook is second on that. Okay, let's move down to, now we still have D through J. Do I hear anybody, any, motion for anything in particular? Yes.
I motion for D through J.
D through J. Okay, I've got a motion for D through J. Do I have a second? Mr. Nodine, a second. Okay. Any questions, any discussion? Okay. All right, you ready to vote? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, got it, carried. Thank you. Okay, CSE recommendations and CPSE recommendations. Any, yes? Motion, and second to that? Okay, Mrs. Allen. Okay, any questions? Discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay. All right. The approval of the revised adult school breakfast and lunch prices. I think it was well written out why that came at this point in the year to us in our packet. Do I have a motion? Yeah, Mrs. Allen? Mr. Nodine, second? Okay. Any questions, any discussion? Okay. You vote, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Okay. The acceptance of a donation from the Red Creek Fairhaven Rotary Club to the Kyler Elementary Cuddle Closet. Okay. Do I have a motion? Mr. Curtis. Mr. Cook, a second? Thank you. Any discussion, questions? It's that time of year. Okay. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Okay, correspondence. Budget presentation. This is going to be Mr. McDonald. Get started on this part of the year.
We are there.
We are there.
Yes. With that, just wanted to bring to your attention that this is the first shot that we've got with the budget. So, I just wanted to say that this is the first shot that we've got with the budget, the first time that you're seeing the numbers. It might have been a little shocking to see that we have a gap between our appropriations and our revenues of about $1.5 million currently. Don't let that alarm you, because we are, on a daily basis, we're taking a look at the numbers. What we did with this appropriation budget is it's a rollover budget. It's the maintenance-based budget. So we take a look at some of the line items and we anticipate what their increases are going to be, and we just go with it. We're going to take a much closer look as we get more hard data in from different sources that we can plug back into the budget. So what we'll be doing is fine-tuning each line. It's not uncommon to see a gap like this the first time around. On the revenue side, the tax cap calculation came through, and our maximum allowed right now, if we went to the cap, is 3.24%, which was about $151,353.
what a lot of the data that we use is the prior year tax cap. There's a growth factor. CPI plays a factor in that, and as you know, inflation has been a little bit higher than it has in the past, which is one of the reasons why we're above the 2%. So our maximum allowable with a simple majority would be the 3.24%. And that's about all I have right now. Are there any questions? Yes.
And I know, I apologize, you know, like I haven't been back on the board for very long, so, I just want some clarification on some of these line items. What is, psychological services, $90,000?
That would include the psychologist and any of the supplies that they would require.
So it's our in-house psychologist?
Yes. The in-house psychologist that's paid out of the general fund, yes.
And then on the revenue page, why was there no transportation aid in 2021? There was no actual transportation aid.
No, that would be an error. I'll have that fixed.
Okay. And then I noticed also that you have a line item in the revenue for the COVID stimulus. Again, I'm assuming that's all projection, or is it actual numbers from our presentation?
No, that was prior year.
So this
Or
is
current,
prior.
that was current year, so we're not gonna have a line item for that, in the upcoming year, next year.
So in 22-23, there won't be this $14,000.
No, that is a correct number.
That's correct. So this is money we're getting.
That is the,
This is what
that's the current estimate.
This is what we got these 2 years.
Correct. What this number is right here, that's what we call the executive run revenue amount.
Okay.
That's the amount that the governor put out a couple of weeks ago, and that the legislature is now working with. Once we get our legislative runs later in March, we'll have a much better idea, because the legislative run is the actual number that the district is going to receive.
Okay. And our foundation aid projection is 3.36. Is that correct? That's not in here, but.
I would have to verify that number.
Okay.
I don't have that, I haven't committed that to memory.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Questions, anyone?
Could I make one more comment?
Sure.
I'd like to, put it out there, food for thought, that since transportation is an expense-driven aid, that we look at the idea of adding that in the Director of Transportation. I know that we will have funds this year. I see that the transportation, I don't have that aid that we received in 2021, but it looks like it's a feasible type of account, and because it is expense-driven, and we all understand what expense-driven means, that we spend the money, then we get the money the following year. There would be that 1 year gap where we're spending money and we're waiting for, the reimbursement, just like we do with BOCES aid. But, given the times that we're in, and I know every school district is up against hard times in the transportation department, but perhaps having some more oversight there might help us in curtailing some of those questions and those.
Okay, any other questions, anyone? Yes, go ahead.
This is my first opportunity to work on the budget in a while too, so I guess I'm not sure how this rolls out, but is this basically just taking everything from last year and rolling it over? Like you said, there's no additions, there's no...
There are very few additions.
Okay.
What we've done is I've taken a look at a few of the areas that we definitely know, and I've hard-coded those. But there's a lot of unknowns in this budget right now because of the fact that we have 3 contracts that haven't been settled, which also is contributing to the $1.5 million gap. So that's the initial is just you would say that this is the most that the district could spend. Obviously, we can't because they're of the gap. But this is if we had rolled everything over into.
Right, so there's no additional staff, no additional,
No.
just, this is just the same as last year?
The same as
Or
the
this
question.
year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Sue?
But have you factored in, you know, that normal inflation amount for salaries and, done any, you know, insurance projections or how much costs are involved? That's not in these budget numbers?
That is,
That's,
yes.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Thank you.
I know that we're, put your hand up, I'm sorry. I know we're gonna hear a lot more from you as these months go on. Thank you. Keep us updated. Okay, superintendent's correspondence, administrative reports.
All right, so we have a few things that I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention. Just that most of these things towards the end of the school year are still under planning phases. As you know, things may or may not shift as far as masking and the COVID protocols. So we're considering all of those things as we move forward. But we are anticipating our prom. We're planning our prom currently at Coloca this year again. On May 21st, so we're excited to be working towards that at this point in time. Our senior class trip is scheduled for June at this point, June 3rd through 5th. We're still working out the details. We're under conversations right now about what a proper location would be for that at this point in time. You know that we originally go to Boston. A large city might not exactly be the best place to be sending our students right now, so we're having conversations about what our students would like to do, and we're currently working with the principal and the assistant principal to work out those details. We have a senior lock-in that's scheduled for March 4th, midwinter ball for March 5th, grades 9 through 12 in the high school gym. Currently working on Operation Graduation at this point in time. I talked to Mrs. Hinman this morning about it, and she is working on trying to get that up and running and certainly trying to generate some interest and some support from people internally, and we'll be reaching out to people externally as well for some of that assistance. June 24th is our graduation, and so we are working through details on that. We're in very, very beginning phases of that at this point. May 13th, we have a Special Olympics that we'll be participating in at SOTUS for grades 6 through 12. The younger students will most likely be participating virtually if we have any students that will be participating in that this year. We have a test distribution that's going to take place. I sent out a notice to the community today. The intent of the tests that most recently came to us from the state are to provide access for students who are coming back from February break. So the goal is to have them test the day before their return, so on the Sunday before their return, coming back from February break. And we are distributing them out to our community, and the way we're doing that is offering them in the community center. I worked it out with Mr. Welcher and his staff. So all the tests will be located in the community center starting on Friday and all the way through winter break. People can come in and pick those tests up. So they are 2 tests in a box. There is a test allocated for each student in this district. We have a good supply of our tests at this point, so they can supply us a pretty good amount. If anyone else is out there, as far as students or parents looking for a test for students, they could reach out to the building level principals or offices, and we can provide some tests for them as well. a letter here that we will be passing on to our counselors in honor of February 7th through 11th being proclaimed as the School Counseling Week from Pam Hellman. And she sent a little piece out to you, and I just wanted you to see it before we pass it out to our counselors. It's just a recognition for our counselors in our school. We have received a school board's piece as well for your information. A little update on our construction. Our construction right now, the main piece of construction at the district office at this point in time is right up to where we need to be. We're right on schedule. We were thinking that we were going to have a few setbacks as far as some of the supplies, but we're looking like we're in pretty good shape at this point in time. It's coming out very nice. They're doing a great job with it. We've had to deal with some noise issues, but for the most part, it's been pretty good and not too invasive during the school day. The other pieces of construction that I just want to mention, so we have 3 floors that will be demoed out in the middle school at this point in time. Mr. Van Arden is working with the teachers on that. The floors will be demoed out over this break, and then they will have installation of the floors over April break. There's several countertops that when they installed a few years back, they actually shrunk due to the heat, and they're reinstalling those. That is pretty much the entire middle school, the whole T in the middle school, so all the countertops there. And then two classrooms in Mr. Taylor's building in Kyler will be replaced as well, and those are the 2 areas directly outside the district office. The digital equity survey, so we have some information on that. I shared it with the board members earlier today. We are in the process of reaching out to some of our individuals in the community who have not participated in that survey yet. We have pushed it out originally electronically, and then we also pushed it out paper copy to the people who did not respond. And now we are actually at the phase where we're actually making phone calls and asking them to fill it out, and we'll certainly assist if they're having challenges to do that. So it's a really important survey for us because it does help us gain a better understanding of what's going on in our communities, and that will be used at multiple levels throughout the state in decision making. As far as our strategic plan, Cindy and I have a meeting, I believe it's tomorrow or Friday. Tomorrow? Friday. To work through the next phase of our strategic plan. Our administrators have received a copy, the Board of Education has received copies of it, and we've started to tweak the years of rollouts that we will have. So after Cindy and I work through the document, we'll make some corrections and some adjustments, and then we'll push it out to our strategic planning committee, who will then dive through and allocate the responsibilities and in which year that the different components are going to take place. And then what we'll do from there is we'll roll that back out to you, and we'll have a presentation at a board meeting about how we're rolling out that strategic plan. So those are really the main things that I wanted to discuss tonight. Do we have any questions for any of those?
This is good.
I do have a question about one of the administrative reports. I'm just not familiar with the Smart Bond grant.
Sure.
Probably happened
Yeah,
this
so.
year, last year, or
I'm sorry?
the Smart Bond grant?
Yeah, so Smart Bond funds have been put in place for several years at this point. Our district had never gained access to those. There's a process, it's about a 2-year process that it has to take place, and we identify the areas that we're looking for. There's different components and different categories, and Mr. Lang is spearheading that committee. His meeting is tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I believe?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that'll be the Stakeholder Committee to start that process, and it'll be kind of an intro meeting. In that meeting, they'll start to talk about the different components and categories, and then the process moving out to apply for it. So again, in my experience and Bill's experience, we've both gone through Smart Bonds in different districts. It is about a 2-year process, depending on where the state is in their review cycles. Their cycles can go very quickly, or their cycles can go very slowly, depending on what their personnel looks like at that given point in time. What I will say is you know, Larry, you put together a committee that consists of how many people?
There is 11 people on the committee. There's a board member, administrator, teacher in each building, student, business manager, superintendent, and myself.
Is there anything you want to add about the process for?
No, the process mainly is getting the committee together. The committee will make a decision in regards to what the district needs moving forward when it comes to the technology area. Once we have got that decision, we will then go out and get bids on the equipment that we will need for the district to move forward and update our technology for the district.
So is it my understanding that you've got a pot of money to spend? And then
Yes,
you're
that is
trying
correct.
to figure out how to allocate that money?
That is correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Well, and you still have to go through the application process of that as well. So he has to identify it, submit it into the portal, have approval for it.
Oh, so
and-
we're just at the very beginning
We're in
stages
the-
of
Correct.
this, where we're actually applying for it?
Correct.
Oh, okay, all
Yeah,
right.
the funds are allocated, we just have to apply for it to obtain the funds.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. I think that Smart Bond's been around several years, yeah, it's been, you know, so it's good that we're going right into it, so. And I want to thank the administrators for their reports. Those are a pleasure to read and be able to give us insight into your programs and your buildings, so thank you. Do we have any other business, anyone? Do I have a motion to adjourn to executive session? Mrs. Cook and Mrs. Allen for the second. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. Have a safe drive home. Thank you.